I took my daughter to a parenting reality show, but she got overly dramatic in front of the camera. She cried with snot and tears, grabbing the actress's dress and refusing to let go. She said she was so pitiful because she had never been loved by her mom and insisted the actress be her mom. The actress laughed and said, "I can be your mom, but would your real mom agree?" My daughter immediately took out her phone and called her mom. "Hey mom, I want the actress to be my mom. If you don't say anything, I'll take it as your agreement." That day, her comatose mother woke up in anger. I, Sincere, have been in the entertainment industry for 2.5 years and can be considered a well-respected veteran actor. I've had no scandals since my debut, focusing all my efforts on my work. The only gossip my fans have is about my mysterious wife, whom I've been secretly married to for many years, and no one has ever discovered her identity. After 2 months away for work, I finally returned home, only to be greeted with sarcasm from my daughter. Emmy, dressed in a pretty princess dress, crossed her arms and said to her brother, "Look, brother, who is this? How did he end up at our house?" Her young voice was filled with a hint of mockery. Lucas, who was reading, glanced up without expression and said, "I don't recognize him." I was speechless. "You two little things, you don't recognize your own dad?" Emmy suddenly slapped her thigh and exclaimed, "Oh, I remember. Isn't this my heartless dad who abandoned us? How come you're back now? Have you finally remembered your wife and kids by the lake?" My mouth twitched. It had only been a few months, but her tongue had gotten sharper. Knowing I was in the wrong, I said sheepishly, "Well, I rushed back as soon as I finished my work, didn't I?" Emmy glanced at me and then looked at her brother. "See, I was right. In Dad's heart, work comes first, not us." I quickly put a hand over her mouth to stop her from talking. This little drama queen could really go on and on. "Listen to me first, I was wrong. I shouldn't have been away working all the time. This time, I signed up for a parenting reality show, hoping you and your brother could join me so I can make it up to you. I promise that after the show, I'll take a long vacation to stay at home with you." Emmy pushed my hand away with her chubby little fingers, a bit awkwardly. "I can join you, but you have to say princess. Please join me on the show." There was no reason not to go along with her request. I immediately said, "Princess, please join me on the show." Emmy's face turned slightly red, her voice sweet and innocent. "Okay, I agree." I turned to look at Lucas, but he refused. "Dad, I don't want to be on the show. Let Emmy go with you." I nodded and said, "Okay, son." After my wife's accident, it was discovered that she was pregnant. Worried she wouldn't wake up, the old man left these twins behind. Although Lucas is only a few minutes older than his sister, he is very mature and has been groomed by the old man as his successor. The reality show Babies is a parenting reality show where cameras follow you all day long. To gain popularity, the show is broadcast live. On the first day of filming, the crew came to our house to take us to the airport. In the waiting lounge, I saw the popular actress Sophia. Sophia came from a wealthy family but joined the entertainment industry because of her love for acting. With her extraordinary acting skills and stunning looks, she has gained numerous fans. Recently, we even worked together on a drama that became a hit. Fans of the show started shipping us and created a couple fan club. Seeing us together again on this parenting show made the fans go wild. The comment section was buzzing, "OMG, my dream couple is on a reality show together. This is amazing." Fans were ecstatic, celebrating and sharing their excitement online. I was a bit confused and looked at Sophia. She wasn't on the guest list provided by the show. The director explained, "Sophia is a special guest we invited as a trainee mom." I nodded. "I see." At this moment, Emmy said in her sweet voice, "Dad, I know her. She's the actress and you two are an on-screen couple." Sophia smiled. "Looks like she keeps up with you online, doesn't she?" Emmy's face turned a bit red, nodding. Her beautiful eyes looked up at Sophia, and she suddenly thought of something, leaning in to whisper to me, "Dad, I have an immature idea. I think the actress can be my mom." I was stunned for a moment, my eyelids twitching. "If you know it's immature, then stop thinking about it." The next second, Emmy pouted. turning into a little drama queen again. "Dad, you don't understand me. You know, I'm a little girl who's never been loved by a mom and longs for a mother's love and companionship." She looked pitiful, her pretty face puffed up, eyes welling with tears. She continued, "I can't even imagine how happy I'd be if the actress were my mom." I was speechless. "Sweetie, if you grow up to be an actress, the Oscar is definitely yours." Sophia suddenly laughed and said, "I would love to be your mom, but would your real mom agree?" I was taken aback again. "Sophia, I've already told you through your agent that this isn't possible. We're not suitable for each other, and I'm married. Why are you bringing this up again?" Emmy stopped crying immediately and said, "Then I'll go ask my mom." My eyes widened. "Sweetie, what are you talking about?" I watched as she took out her smartwatch and called the butler. "Uncle Chen, can you please put the phone to my mom's ear? I want to say a few words to her." "Sure, little miss." Then I heard her say into the phone, "Mom, I want the actress to be my mom. If you don't say anything, I'll take it as your agreement." I was speechless. "Sweetie, your mom is in a coma. Asking her to speak is too much." Emmy continued, "Mom, if you don't say anything, I'll take it as your consent." I quickly hung up the phone and pointed at Emmy angrily. "Consent? Nonsense. Your mom can't speak. Stop making things difficult for her." At this moment, the director's eyes lit up and he asked, "What do you mean by Emmy's mom can't speak without thinking?" Emmy blurted out, "Because my mom is in a coma." I reacted quickly, covering Emmy's mouth, but it was too late. Everyone heard and was shocked. The live stream chat room exploded as well. "Oh my God, Sincere's wife is in a coma. Now we know why he never announced his wife's identity." I'm shocked that the actress is on the show, but even more shocked that Sincere's wife is in a coma. Entertainment detectives couldn't uncover her identity, and it turns out she's in a coma. The day before the show, I specifically told Emmy not to reveal her mom's identity on the show. But she did just that as soon as the live broadcast started. As expected, this news quickly trended online. The atmosphere at the scene became tense. Just then, the director received a phone call. After hanging up, he said with a serious expression, "I'm sorry, but one of our guest families had an accident on the way to the airport and was taken to the hospital. The chief director has decided to suspend filming temporarily." With the show on hold, the crew drove us back to the villa. Just as we got out of the car, I received a call from Lucas. His excitement and joy were palpable over the phone. "Dad, Mom woke up." I stood in stunned silence for a few seconds, thinking I had misheard, but he repeated, "Dad, you heard me right. Our Mom really woke up." Because of the filming, Emmy and I stayed at the villa while Lucas lived at the old house. Upon hearing the news, Emmy and I hurried back to the old house. The Liu family is well known in New York City, with vast assets and deep roots, a true aristocratic family. Victoria, the eldest daughter, was originally slated to take over the family business. Not only that, she was incredibly beautiful with elegant almond-shaped eyes and a dignified aura. On the way to the old house, I checked online and saw that Emmy's revelation about her mom's coma had indeed become a hot topic. My agent contacted me saying it would be hard to manage the public relations as it came from Emmy herself during a live broadcast, so I told her to let it be. When we arrived at the old house, Mr. Liu and Lucas, along with some relatives, were in the courtyard. Victoria's parents had died when she was young, and Mr. Liu raised her and her sister alone. 5 years ago, she had a car accident and fell into a coma. Overnight, Mr. Liu's hair turned white. Now that Victoria had awakened, his eyes were red with emotion, unable to hide his excitement. He told me, "Victoria just woke up. The doctor is examining her. We'll see her after they finish." I nodded slightly. "Okay." After the doctor finished, he said excitedly, "It's a miracle. Although her physical indicators are still chaotic, her recovery over the years has been quite good. Let her rest for now and we'll do a thorough checkup tomorrow." Mr. Liu asked the relatives to leave, taking me and the children to the room. As we entered, we saw Victoria leaning against the large bed. Over the years, Mr. Liu had used expensive equipment to maintain her vital signs and health, and hired private caregivers. Apart from her extraordinarily beautiful but slightly pale face, she looked like any normal person. I quietly looked at Victoria, and our gazes met. For a moment I didn't know how to react. After all, Mr. Liu had arranged for our marriage after she became comatose, and she didn't know about our marriage or the children. Victoria calmly called out, "Grandpa, you're really awake?" Mr. Liu's eyes reddened instantly. He sat on the chair beside her bed and started telling her about her car accident, her coma, the unexpected pregnancy, and the doctor's recommendation to keep the children. He looked at me and the children, saying, "Sincere has taken good care of you and the kids. He has been very attentive. Now that you're awake, I hope you can get along with him." Victoria raised her eyes to look at me, her dark eyes filled with complex emotions. She smiled gently. "Okay." Mr. Liu was delighted. "I knew you would agree, but remember, don't lose your temper with him, okay?" Victoria nodded. "I understand, Grandpa." Mr. Liu was very satisfied with Victoria's attitude and finally relaxed, reminding her to rest well. Before leaving, he handed her the phone and said meaningfully, "This is your phone. Only I have seen it." Victoria glanced at me without saying anything. Emmy stood beside me and asked Victoria, "Mom, how did you wake up?" Victoria seemed to think of something and said with a heavy tone, "I was angered awake by your call." I blurted out, "You could hear us when you were in a coma?" Victoria nodded. I could always sense the world around me and hear external sounds. Emmy's eyes widened in shock. "You must have a big temper to wake up just from being angry." Victoria's face darkened. Lucas looked at Emmy in confusion and asked, "Sis, what did you say to Mom on the phone?" Emmy then repeated what she had said. "Mom, I want the actress to be my mom. If you don't say anything, I'll take it as your agreement." The next second, Victoria firmly replied, "I'm telling you now, I do not agree." Emmy's small body trembled, and she immediately hid behind me. Lucas was speechless. Calling Mom when she's in a coma, taking advantage of her inability to speak. "Sis, that's quite bold of you." Victoria was speechless. I couldn't help but chuckle. This son of mine sure knows how to talk. Emmy weakly said, "Didn't I wake Mom up? No credit but hard work, right?" I was speechless. Victoria was speechless. Lucas was speechless. Three faces with question marks. Emmy's dark eyes rolled as she walked to the bedside, acting like a little adult. "Mom, since I woke you up, let's call it even. Can we just let this go?" Victoria calmly said, "Okay." And so this matter was settled with Emmy's clever words. Victoria said she had slept for a long time and didn't want to rest anymore. The two little ones sat by her bed, chatting and sharing interesting things they encountered in kindergarten. Victoria listened gently, responding to their vivid descriptions. The atmosphere was warm and harmonious. At dinner, the butler brought a wheelchair for Victoria and helped her into it. I pushed her to the dining room. Lucas eagerly offered to feed Mom, and Emmy followed suit. "Let me feed Mom too." I gently said, "You two eat your dinner. Our Dad will feed Mom." Lucas and Emmy nodded. "Okay." I turned to Victoria and said, "I'll feed you. Tell me what you want to eat, and I'll get it for you." Victoria nodded slightly. "Thank you." After dinner, I fell into deep thought. Before Victoria woke up, I had always slept in the same room with her to take care of her and give her massages. Now that she was awake, should we sleep separately? I thought for a moment and asked Lucas, "Since Mom woke up today, can Dad sleep in your room tonight?" Lucas paused, looking like he already knew the answer. "Why do you want to sleep in my room now that Mom is awake?" I explained, "Because before, Dad needed to take care of Mom. Now that Mom is awake, she doesn't need Dad's care, and she might not be comfortable with Dad sleeping next to her." Emmy chimed in, "But Mom isn't fully recovered yet and still needs Dad's care. Besides, aren't Mom and Dad supposed to sleep together?" I was stunned. I hadn't thought of that. I turned to look at Victoria, and our eyes met. Victoria raised her eyebrows slightly, her eyes like hooks. I awkwardly scratched my head. Victoria's lips curved slightly, her voice light and clear. "Emmy is right. We are husband and wife. We shouldn't sleep separately. We should spend more time together, and I still need you." I nodded slightly, feeling a bit excited for some reason. "All right then." After playing with the kids for a while and tucking them in, I returned to the room. Victoria was sitting on the bed looking at her phone. When she saw me come in, she put the phone down and asked, "Are the kids asleep?" I nodded. "Yes. Do you want me to help you take a bath now?" Victoria paused, a faint smile on her lips. "Mr. Sincere, you helped me bathe when I was in a coma, but now that I'm awake, I might feel shy if you help me." I couldn't help but laugh. "If you can say that, I don't think you'll feel shy." Victoria shook her head, her face turning red. "No, I will." "All right then, I'll call Nanny Nancy to help you." Victoria said, "Nanny Nancy already helped me earlier." I nodded slightly. "Okay, I'll go wash up then." Half an hour later, I changed into my pajamas and got into bed. I saw Victoria watching the live video of me and Emmy filming the reality show today. She said she looks at you with admiration. She must like you. I was stunned for a moment, then realized she was talking about Sophia. I replied, "Yes, that's true." She even asked her agent to see if we could create some buzz as a couple. Victoria looked at me, her clear dark eyes reflecting a mix of emotions. "And what did you say?" I blinked and naturally replied, "What else could I say?" I refused, of course. Victoria's eyes seemed to curve slightly. She put down her phone. "I'll turn off the lights now." I said, "Okay." After the lights went out, the room fell into darkness. When she was in a coma, I was used to sleeping next to her and didn't feel anything. Now that she was awake and lying beside me, I felt a bit uneasy. My mind started to wander. The room was very quiet, with only the sound of our breathing. After a while, she suddenly spoke, "You probably can't sleep like this." I was speechless. "How do you know?" She said, "When I was in a coma, I could feel that you like to sleep on your side, often putting your leg on me. I guess you like to sleep with a pillow between your legs. Now you're lying flat and not moving, so you probably can't sleep." Hearing her explanation, I blurted out, "Were you really in a coma? It's like you saw everything with your eyes open. Were you pretending?" Victoria was speechless. She was silent for 2 seconds and then said, "Pretending to be in a coma for 5 years? I must be crazy." I was speechless. I fell silent, feeling like I was the crazy one for asking such a question. After the silence, I unknowingly fell asleep. The next day, after breakfast, I left the kids at home and took Victoria to the hospital for a checkup. Since we had made arrangements in advance, a doctor helped us, pushing her wheelchair to various departments for examinations. After the checkup, it was already noon. We found a restaurant for lunch and returned to the hospital in the afternoon to get the results before heading home. Since Victoria had just woken up, the day's activities had exhausted her. She was dozing off in the car, and when we got home, the butler carried her to bed to rest. I went to find the 2 little ones, only to discover them hiding in a room crying. Their fair little faces were streaked with tears, and their eyes were red, indicating they had been crying for a while. I hurriedly asked, "What happened? Did you 2 have a fight?" The 2 little ones shook their heads, not saying a word. "Then what is it?" Lucas looked up, tears in his eyes, and asked, "Dad, now that Mom is awake, are you going to divorce her and leave us?" My heart sank. I immediately realized someone must have said something to them. "Did someone come and talk to you?" Lucas said, "It was Aunt Lucy. She said Dad is a jerk who never intended to be with Mom. He only came back for the Liu family's wealth and because Mom was in a coma." Anger surged within me. It was indeed her, Victoria's sister Lucy. Speaking of Lucy, I had to mention Ethan. Lucy and Ethan were very close, almost like siblings. In her eyes, Ethan was the perfect candidate to be her brother-in-law. Everyone thought Ethan and Victoria were a perfect match, a couple made in heaven. When Ethan went abroad, Victoria seemed heartbroken, and everyone assumed it was because of Ethan. They saw Ethan as Victoria's white moonlight. After Victoria's accident, Lucy had always opposed my marriage to her sister and despised me. I never expected her to say such things to the children. Emmy, still sobbing, said, "She also said we were born without Mom's consent and aren't really Mom's children. Emmy cried even harder as she spoke. Lucas continued, "She said Mom doesn't like Dad and didn't know we would be born, so she doesn't like us either. And Dad doesn't like us. So soon we'll be kicked out by Mom and abandoned by Dad, becoming orphans. Dad, is that true? Do we not deserve to be born?" At that moment both children's eyes were filled with tears, as if they had suffered a great blow. My heart ached, and anger burned in my chest. I hugged them tightly, speaking gently and controlling my emotions. "No, don't listen to her nonsense. You are Dad's most beloved children. If I don't love my own children, who do I love? Everything she said is false. Don't believe her." After comforting them for a while, the children finally stopped crying and calmed down. Lucas added, "Actually, she has said these things to us more than once. She said if we dared to tell you or great-grandpa, she would kick us out." Lucas's words instantly ignited my anger. My eyes narrowed as I took out my phone and called Mr. Liu. 10 minutes later, I took the children to see Mr. Liu. He was sitting in a chair, with Lucy and a few servants standing nearby. Mr. Liu asked, "Sincere, you woke me up from my nap and called Lucy here. What's going on?" Lucy's voice rang out. "So it was Sincere who called me here." She looked at me with undisguised arrogance and mockery. "Why did you call me here?" I didn't say a word, letting Lucas and Emmy stand by Mr. Liu's side. Then I walked up to Lucy and slapped her hard. The sound was crisp, and the force was strong enough to make her head tilt. Everyone was stunned. "What's going on?" I didn't speak, raising my hand and slapping her again, straightening her head. Lucy looked at me in disbelief, covering her face with her hands, her voice sharp. "Sincere, how dare you hit me?" Lucy was furious, cursing, "Sincere, are you crazy?" Mr. Liu, with a stern face, asked coldly, "What's going on?" I turned to the children and said, "Lucas, Emmy, tell great-grandpa exactly what you told Dad." The children obediently repeated everything. Mr. Liu's face grew darker as he listened. Lucy panicked. When the children mentioned that Aunt Lucy said they didn't deserve to be born, Mr. Liu angrily slammed the table, startling everyone. I stared at Lucy, speaking slowly and clearly. "Lucy, do you dare to repeat what you said to the children in front of Mr. Liu? I always knew you disliked me, but I didn't know you had been hurting the children and affecting their mental health. Lucy, you are truly vicious." Mr. Liu, with a stern expression, slammed the table again. "Lucy, kneel!" Lucy trembled, her legs giving way as she knelt on the ground. Nanny Nancy, who had watched Lucy grow up, spoke up. "Miss Lucy, you were wrong. Apologize to Mr. Sincere." Before Mr. Liu or Lucy could say anything, I coldly said, "No need to apologize. I won't forgive her. Tomorrow, I'll take the children to see a psychologist. If there are any issues, she will pay the price." I walked over to Mr. Liu, took a deep breath and said, "Grandpa, please handle this matter. The children's emotions are not good right now. I plan to take them back to the Riverside Villa. Please take care of Victoria." With that, I left with the children. Mr. Liu didn't stop us. For the past few years, I had always been with the children. Although I had work, I never stayed away from them for long. Even when I had to film for months, I would come back frequently. But I didn't know that Lucy had been hurting them and instilling such thoughts in them. My heart felt like it was being torn apart, filled with guilt and pain, an overwhelming sense of helplessness. I hugged the children and apologized. "I'm sorry. Dad didn't do well enough. I didn't know Aunt Lucy was saying these things to you." Seeing me apologize, the two kids hurriedly grabbed my arms with their little hands and comforted me in their soft voices. "Dad, don't apologize. It's not your fault." Lucas said, "Dad, we're fine. Even though Aunt Lucy said those things, Great-Grandpa told us we're the best kids." Emmy added, "Yes, we don't believe her. We just couldn't hold it in this time and told you. Dad, don't be sad." I nodded. "All right, Dad won't be sad. You two are Dad's little angels." Afterwards, I took the kids out to play for the afternoon, and we returned to the Riverside Villa in the evening. To my surprise, just as we were finishing dinner, Victoria arrived. She came in and asked, "Is there food for me?" I was stunned for a moment and blurted out, "Why are you here?" Victoria, sitting in a wheelchair, frowned and sighed. "Shouldn't I be here?" I nodded, not saying anything, wondering if she was here to defend her sister. After all, to her, my children and I were practically strangers. But the next second I heard her say, "I woke up to find my husband and kids gone, leaving me all alone at home. I had no choice but to have Uncle Chin bring me here." I was taken aback looking at her. Victoria's dark eyes were filled with complex emotions. Her thin lips moved and she said clearly, "You did the right thing." The next second she added, somewhat aggrieved, "But leaving me behind was your mistake." I followed her words. "I should have brought you along." Victoria's lips curved into a slight smile, her eyes sparkling. She said seriously, "Yes, next time, remember to bring me along. My sister deserves a good scolding. I should have slapped her a few times myself." I said, "All right." Just then Lucas suddenly spoke. "Mom coming to find us means she doesn't dislike us, right?" Victoria looked seriously at the two little ones and said, "Although Mom just woke up from a coma, she doesn't dislike you. In fact, Mom really likes you." The two kids immediately beamed, showing their little teeth. "Great, we aren't unloved children." Emmy, with her big beautiful eyes, asked Victoria, "What about Dad? Does Mom like Dad?" Victoria's gaze fell on me again, her dark eyes revealing a hint of hidden emotion. She then said, "Mom likes Dad too." I was stunned, feeling a warm rush in my chest. I knew she was trying to comfort the kids, but I couldn't help but want to believe it. After all, I had secretly loved Victoria for many years. On the first day of college, I lost my tuition money and wandered along the riverbank, pondering the meaning of life. That money was what my terminally ill father had saved by giving up treatment. He had already passed away, and now the money was gone. I aimlessly wandered from day to night and from night to dawn. While crossing a bridge, I met a gentle, lovely girl. She stopped me, saying she had found my money, but I could tell at a glance it wasn't mine. After her lie was exposed, she smiled and said half-jokingly, "Consider it a loan from me. You owe me one, so don't think about doing anything silly." I glanced blankly at the river, realizing she had followed me, thinking I was going to commit suicide, and stopped me. I was speechless and quickly wrote her an IOU. That's how I first met Victoria. We met again on campus. I discovered she was the school beauty, a dazzling presence. Later, I made a friend who was part of her circle. At my friend's birthday party, I met Victoria for the third time. Because of my friend, I started attending their gatherings more frequently, increasing my chances of seeing her. I didn't know when it started, but I would subconsciously look for her, wondering if she would be there. One time, my friend joked that almost every guy in school liked Victoria and asked if I liked her. I paused for a few seconds before slowly saying no. My friend said I was quite special, but he didn't know I was lying. I was a liar. There were often jokes about Victoria and Ethan, saying they were a perfect match. They would just smile and not say anything. After Ethan went abroad, Victoria seemed heartbroken, and everyone thought it was because of Ethan. They assumed Ethan was her white moonlight. Later, Victoria went abroad too. That book of unrequited love was closed and buried deep in my heart. Later, I entered the entertainment industry. At a dinner party, I unexpectedly met her again. I added her on WeChat among a group of people. Back home, I stared at her WeChat, contemplating life. Have you ever had the experience of wanting to check someone's social media but accidentally hitting the poke button instead? The next second, they sent a question mark in response. I explained, "I meant to check your posts but accidentally poked you." She asked, "Why do you want to check my posts?" Maybe she didn't know me or had forgotten me, so I replied, "I wanted to see if there are any photos suitable for making you my girlfriend, but you have no posts." To my surprise, a minute later she replied, "I just posted some photos. You can check now." I opened her profile and saw the newly posted photos. She looked the same as I remembered, with a bit more grace and restraint. I said, "You look beautiful, perfect for being my girlfriend." She replied, "What should I say?" I said, "You should say, I would love to be your girlfriend." I thought she might not respond or refuse, but she replied, "Okay." I would love to be your girlfriend. So, I replied, all right, now you're my girlfriend. You seem quite reserved. Let's start with an online relationship and meet in person when the time is right. She responded, okay. But I knew she didn't recognize me. Even if we met, she wouldn't know who I was. But it didn't matter. I knew her, and that was enough. The result was what mattered. From that day on, we began a 2-year online relationship. The turning point came when a friend invited me for a drink, saying he had something important to discuss. But after a few drinks, he got a call and had to leave. At the bar, I saw Victoria, completely drunk, slumped over a table. 2 burly men were eyeing her with ill intentions. I was furious. They were targeting my girlfriend, so I walked up and forcefully took her away. I expected those 2 creeps to argue with me, but they just exchanged a glance and left. Victoria's eyes were glazed, and she didn't say a word, clearly drunk out of her mind. Since she wasn't speaking, I had no choice but to take her to a nearby hotel. As soon as we entered the room, she clung to me, kissing me passionately without saying a word. I instinctively wanted to push her away, but then I realized she was my girlfriend. We fumbled through the night, and I was exhausted by the time we finished. I fell asleep, completely drained. When I woke up, she was gone. My groggy mind started to process what had happened. I knew she was my girlfriend, but she didn't know I was her boyfriend. What was going on? I sent her a tentative message asking where she was last night. She replied with a question mark. I was speechless. What did that mean? Did she know who I was? When I asked again, she didn't respond. After some time, I thought our relationship was over. But then I received a call from her grandfather. He said he found my contact information on her phone. He told me Victoria had been in a car accident and was in a coma. Before I could react, he dropped another bombshell. Victoria was pregnant. The timing matched that night. We had taken precautions, but somehow it happened. When the paternity test confirmed it, I made a decision. No matter if Victoria woke up or not, I would take care of her and our children for the rest of my life. Back to the present, I set a place for Victoria at the table. After dinner, I made an appointment with a psychologist. The next day, I called the kids' kindergarten teacher to ask for leave. Victoria suggested accompanying the kids to see the psychologist, so after breakfast, the 4 of us went together. After the psychologist's consultation and tests, the results showed that the kids were mentally healthy, just a bit insecure. I breathed a sigh of relief, thinking I should talk to Victoria and give the kids more security. Leaving the psychologist's office, I remembered the kids had been wanting to go to the zoo to see the elephants. I mentioned it to Victoria, suggesting we take the kids to the zoo. Victoria's long eyelashes drooped slightly, and she looked a bit disappointed. Her voice was softer. Not taking me? I was stunned for a moment and softly said, We'll take you too. Victoria's lips curved into a smile, her eyes brightening. Okay. At the zoo, the kids were thrilled to see many animals they had never seen before. They were so excited, running around, looking at everything with wonder. Victoria and I watched them with smiles, occasionally answering their questions about the animals. To prevent any accidents, I made sure they wore masks, and Victoria had a bodyguard pushing her wheelchair. After playing for half a day, the kids were tired and not as energetic as before. Emmy ran to Victoria and said, Mom, I'm so tired. Can I sit in your wheelchair for a while? I couldn't help but chuckle. This little one was eyeing her mom's wheelchair. Victoria's eyelids twitched slightly and she calmly said, Emmy, what kind of people need to use a wheelchair? Emmy tilted her head thinking and blurted out, People who can't walk. Victoria said, If I give you the wheelchair, what about me? Emmy's big dark eyes sparkled. Can't you lie on the ground for a while? I couldn't help but laugh out loud. Victoria's lips twitched and she said to me, This daughter of ours is quite something. Lucas, being sensible, told Emmy, Sis, don't be naughty. If you're tired, we can sit on the bench and rest. I shook my head, laughing. Back home, Mr. Lou's butler came over to inform me of Lucy's punishment. Mr. Liu had used the family rules, giving Lucy 20 lashes. After 10 lashes, Lucy couldn't take it and fainted, being sent to the hospital. But Mr. Liu said the remaining 10 lashes would be given once she recovered. Additionally, she was punished to kneel in the ancestral hall. I didn't say anything. Both Lucy and the kids were raised by Mr. Liu. This punishment was not light. The butler then asked about the kids' psychological evaluation results, and I told him the truth to put Mr. Liu at ease. The kids started kindergarten. The doctor said Victoria's muscles were normal, and she could try standing and walking. Victoria didn't want to use the wheelchair anymore, so I helped her walk. I helped Victoria stand up, and she used my support to get up. The touch of our hands sent a slight electric current through me, and I felt a subtle emotion. Victoria stood for a while, adjusting to the sensation of standing before attempting to take a step. After 5 years in a coma, her physical functions couldn't recover instantly. She moved her foot forward slightly and frowned. I reassured her, "Don't rush, take it slow." Victoria nodded, gripping my hand tightly, gathering her strength to move forward. I was tense, being very careful, afraid she might fall. And as expected, after a few steps, she lost her balance and fell forward. I quickly caught her by the waist, but she instinctively pulled me down with her. She fell onto her back, and I landed on top of her, feeling a soft sensation. Our eyes met, and just as the atmosphere was growing a bit intimate, Lucas and Emmy came home from school and saw us. The 2 little ones stood there, their faces full of shock. Lucas, in his innocent voice, asked, "Mom, Dad, are you playing stack up?" I was speechless. Stack up? Seriously? I hurriedly got up and helped her stand. Nervously, I asked, "Are you okay? Did you get hurt?" She replied, "I'm fine, not too hurt." The 2 little ones realized what had happened and quickly came over to help us. In the following days, Victoria kept practicing walking. Initially, she needed me to support her, walking with stops. Gradually, she didn't need my help, and soon she was walking smoothly, eventually returning to normal. Half a month later, Victoria's health checkups came back normal. The news of her recovery and awakening spread quickly, becoming a hot topic online. The princess of New York's elite circle, comatose for 5 years, has woken up. The comment section buzzed with excitement. Everyone said she would never wake up. It's been 5 years, and she did. It's a medical miracle. I'm a medical student, and I'm here to share some good news. My wife, who was in a coma for 5 years, has finally woken up. Our next step is to have a baby. Hold on, that's my wife. You all call her wife. I call her companion. Saved 40 years of detours. However, amidst this buzz, a tabloid dropped a bombshell, igniting the internet. Sincere took advantage of a drunk Victoria 5 years ago, took her to a hotel, abandoned her when she got pregnant, and only came back for the Liu family's wealth when she became comatose. The scandal drew a massive crowd, with my fans fiercely defending me. Tabloid, are you brain dead? Making up such vicious lies? I want to smack your face with a rake. Wait for the lawsuit. I'm a neutral party, but this accusation is just ridiculous. Just as people were disbelieving the tabloid, Lucy suddenly posted, "Sincere got my sister pregnant and abandoned her, only marrying her when she became a comatose. He's a jerk." This unexpected twist stunned everyone and shocked my fans. Oh my God, if her sister said it, it must be true. Sincere's fans must be speechless now. Instead of a denial from Sincere, Lucy confirmed it. I realized it was Lucy who had leaked the information to the tabloid, and when they doubted her, she posted it herself. Amidst the uproar, Lucy called me, "Sincere, have you seen how they're cursing you online? Ethan is back. I'm going to make sure he and my sister end up together. They're meant to be. If you dare, go tell Grandpa, and I assure you my sister will divorce you for Ethan." Ethan had returned. The news threw me off balance. Just as I hung up, Victoria called. Her voice trembled as she asked, "Did you see the trending topic?" "Yes." The next second, she said, "Don't look at it. I'm already having it taken down. As for Lucy, I've talked to Grandpa. He agreed to cut off all her cards and kick her out. I was stunned, blurting out, "You knew it was her?" Victoria chuckled. "Sincere, I was in a coma, but I wasn't clueless." I added, "I can explain what happened that night at the bar." Her tone was firm. "I don't need you to explain, I believe you." My heart swelled, not knowing what to say, as if a stone had been tossed into a calm lake causing ripples. Victoria continued, "Are you home?" "Yes. Wait for me for 15 minutes. I want to talk to you face to face." "Okay." After hanging up, something felt off, but I couldn't pinpoint it until I saw Victoria. I suddenly realized and pointed at her in shock. "You know it was me?" She knew I was her online partner because after waking up, she never asked for my WeChat or phone number but still called me. She knew my number from our online relationship. To my surprise, Victoria smiled and said, "I always knew it was you. I was just waiting for you to tell me the truth." My eyes widened in disbelief. "You always knew?" She nodded, her clear dark eyes filled with light. "I wouldn't engage in an online relationship unless I already liked the person." I was speechless, my mind reeling, doubting if I heard correctly. "You liked me from the start, which is why you agreed to the online relationship?" Victoria said yes, and at the bar, I was desperate. "When would you finally meet me in person and confess? So I had your friend call you out. It was all voluntary. I wasn't drunk. Just my luck. I didn't get a chance to tell you before the accident. The information was overwhelming. I struggled to process it all." "Wait, let me get this straight. You liked me and agreed to the online relationship, but I initiated it, so you must have liked me before that." Victoria confirmed. "I had a crush on you in college. Hearing you say you didn't like me hurt, so I went abroad." "Wait, you went abroad because Ethan left, didn't you?" Victoria shook her head, taking my hand. "No, I overheard you telling a friend you didn't like me. That's why." She continued, "Grandpa saw my phone and knew I liked you and had an online relationship with you, so he reached out, asking if you'd marry me." I suddenly understood. That's why Grandpa was so kind to me. It felt surreal to realize my longtime crush also had a crush on me. It felt like a dream, too unreal. When I finally accepted it, my heart raced. I decided to confess my feelings, meeting her gaze. "Victoria, I've had a crush on you for years. What you heard about me not liking you wasn't true." Victoria smiled, her eyes shining. "So, we've both had a crush on each other and finally found our way to each other?" I nodded, yes. The next moment we embraced tightly. That night I posted a photo from her college days with the caption, "Lucky to have married the girl I've had a crush on for years." She also posted a candid photo of me from that time, captioned, "A mutual crush, a shared journey."